Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of G.M.E. Reviews. I'm your host, Dragon Project, and today's episode is about Season 5 of The Flash. I've been a long time viewer of The Flash since day one. I think that the series has been pretty outstanding, from the Savitar season to, the first season was great. Savitar was great, to Barry's overall character progression, and his relationship with Iris West, to his relationship with Caitlin and Cisco, and how he maneuvers kind of growing up with these powers and like what he can and cannot do and what he should and should not do. I think one of the biggest things was last season's when, he realized by kind of going back in time, he just messed everything up. But, I have to say, this is the reason why I wanted to make this episode, is because although the earlier seasons were great, I feel like season 5 is kind of slow and a little lackluster. It's not over yet. I definitely understand that, but it's just the pacing. I feel like the threat is a little confusing. Season 5 is like, it has some great plot points, right? It's like, there are some spoilers here, so if you haven't seen any of The Flash, turn the video off here, it's okay. But I would say that I understand, The Flash has been out for a minute. Like, how much more can we say, ooh, the world is in danger, and I actually like the kind of like comic book kind of vibe to it all. Like, I feel like they changed it from being such like a high tempo, like everything's threat level, to this not necessarily joyous, but it's just like, oh, okay, like here's a threat, and like there's some other jabs in here that are like self-discovery, and like exploration of like the group, Barry Allen, Iris, Cisco, with Cisco getting a girlfriend, like all that stuff it is cool. But I feel as though what's going on for the Flash right now is this thing that kind of happened with Arrow, right? Like, there was this time when Arrow was prime, right? I'd say the first, second, maybe even like the third season was pretty good, and then like it just went into some direction where it just never could pull the reins back in, and I like it bounced back a little bit. Like, I like some of the later stuff, but I would just say that like there were a few seasons of Arrow for me that it just was completely lacking, and I'm a little worried that the Flash might be moving in that direction. I think that it's really cool that the Reverse Flash is in here, because once again, like, that's Barry's like greatest nemesis. I will say something about the casting though. Like, it was cool to see the guy that plays Harrison Wells, in like as like to find out that he was the Reverse Flash, but at the same time, I think it would be cool to have a Reverse Flash that's around Barry's age, and that's really like better than him in like so many different ways. I'm not saying that the season 5 plot isn't good. Like, I think Cicada's interesting. I think that Cicada's niece, I think that's his niece, is interesting. Like, her character seems pretty cool. Like I said, the development of Cisco and like them developing the cure, but I just feel like that the pacing is just lagging, and I don't know, like, maybe it's always been like this. Maybe the Flash is always taking like 2-week gaps. I feel like there just hasn't been as many episodes, like maybe it's just because they're kind of all blending together. I think Nora's great. I think that as an actress, she's super talented. I will say this is something that I'm not a fan of, is I can't remember her name, but the district attorney having superpowers. Something about that, it just was kind of silly to me. It's like, this character doesn't seem to have any weight or being like interesting, so let's just give her some powers. And I get that like a lot of the season has been comprised of like Nora doing something and Barry picking up the pieces afterwards and saying, it's okay, do it like this, which is cool, but again, like, that can get old as well. And what, now that I think of it, like, Barry hasn't really been a major factor in this season, and that's something that I think can be a good and a bad thing. I'm not saying that he hasn't been in the show. Of course, he's been in every episode for the most part, but like, I definitely feel like he's not the centerpiece like he used to be. Like, his thoughts, his vibe, his feeling, I think that like a lot of the supporting characters have been in the front, which is a good thing potentially, but I also think that we need to be connected. It's like being reconnected back to Barry, because ultimately we watch the show to see the Flash. We don't watch it to see It's not like, oh yeah, I want to know what's going on with Vibe or Killer Frost. Like, don't get me wrong, again, they're great supporting characters, and I do want to know what's going on with them. But like, I'm just kind of like, yeah, where is Barry Ray? You know, like, he just doesn't seem as present as he once did. It just feels as though, like, with every 2 episodes they put out, it could just be one. Reminds me of in Dragon Ball Z, right, where it's like there's like 3 episodes that are kind of leading up to something, right, that happens in the 4th episode, when basically all those 3 previous episodes could have just been at least like 2, you know, episodes, maybe not 1, but just 2. And it almost is like the dialogue, some of the episodes of the season isn't even worth necessarily listening to, right? It's just kind of like, okay, it's almost, it's like, yeah, it's like in Dragon Ball Z or like some other show that where like there's that one thing that you got to pay attention to in that one episode, but it lasts for 30 minutes, right? You're like, oh, okay, so this was the one takeaway from this one episode. And I kind of feel like that's the vibe of this season, which is a little disappointing, because I remember one of the key things that always made The Flash just amazing to me was how every episode felt good, right? You were like, even if it was just something where it wasn't like major high-end threat, right? It was just like, oh, like I'm learning something new. I'm experiencing something about, oh, like Barry's doing something cool. He's learning something about himself, or he's learning something about his powers, or he's growing up, you know, or whatever. And I think that has always been it's been great. But this season just kind of feels like just absent of that vibe. Just to wrap it all up, I think that the new season potentially can be a great season. But so far it seems pretty slow. And, you know, although, you know, I love some Dragon Ball Z and I love some other animes and shows that kind of go off of that same, like, just like elongated episode series thing, is that, like, for the most part with series that do that, to wait till like it's on Netflix, or like wait till the whole season is out, versus like waste my time just trying to be excited for this new episode that's going to come out, but it's just not all that great. But yeah, so like I'm curious. We'll see how the new season 5 goes and how it continues. And yes, thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Dragon Project, and if you'd like to support us, click that link below. But if not, hitting a like would be great. Thank you so much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day.
She must have felt completely alone.
She wasn't. Run, Laura.